Hey, so welcome to the Bearded Guy Podcast. Now, I'm going to record this episode of me actually doing the podcast. And, so I'm not going to be looking at the camera much, but I just kind of wanted to show you the process and really start my series off on conspiracy theories with a video podcast. Now, again, I'm still trying to figure out all of the ins and outs of doing this live, and this is going to help me kind of, I guess, gain a better understanding of some things that I need to do and some things that I don't need to do. So as I look away from the camera, trust me, it's not an indication that I don't care about you, the viewer, but I'm actually going to read my text is what I'm going to do, because my brain power is not enough to keep it all in the head. So without further ado, let's hop on the crazy train of conspiracy theory. Okay, so we all know what a conspiracy theory is. It's a way to rationalize or offer an explanation for an event or sequence of events in situations that, really don't square with what we know as actual reality. Now, there's one for just about everything under the sun if you look hard enough. But not all of them carry the weight that some do. I mean, really, most boil down to nothing more than the crazy ramblings of your half-drunk uncle at the barbecue. Now, there's not a lot of substance to his stories, but damn, his rants are fascinating to listen to. But you see, every successful theory has a special ingredient for being successful. It needs that something special to set it apart from the rest. It needs a little thing called circular reasoning. Now, circular reasoning is an odd yin and yang of sorts when it comes to proving a theory or a thing. You see, circular reasoning has three parts to it. The first part is there's evidence for it. Now, the second part is there's evidence against it. Now, the third and final part, which is most crucial, is that all of the data must be then reinterpreted as the truth. And if it can meet this criteria, well, then you've got a great conspiracy theory on your hands. But more simply, in layman's terms, it's this. It's a logical fallacy in which the reasoner begins with what they are trying to end with. You see, it's very simple. Okay, so enough of the technical stuff. Let's dig into today's conspiracy. This is one that has endured over the years because there's just enough maybe to it to keep it going. Today we're talking about ancient astronauts. Now, the theory is that these ancient space travelers spanned the galaxy to create a race of human-alien hybrids, and they were infusing their DNA, into early hominids to accelerate the evolutionary process. Now, this theory also makes the connection that these ancient space travelers also played a large part in the creation of and building of our wonders of the world, the pyramids, Stonehenge, etc. Now, that's a lofty theory even on a good day. And what proof is there that this theory could actually hold water? You see, it begins with a little thing called junk DNA. Now, what is junk DNA? I'm glad you asked. Now, without getting too technical here, junk DNA is simply DNA segments that do not encode protein. In other words, it has no function that we know of. It's estimated that somewhere between 90 and 98% of the DNA genome in humans is made up of this junk DNA. Now, while unsure of its actual function, scientists believe that it possibly plays an important role in our evolutionary process. Now, because this junk DNA has no known or discovered purpose, it's led some people to speculate that there has to be a true or hidden reason for it being there in the first place. Now, junk DNA in itself is not enough to give legs to this theory, but it's a good enough point, or a good enough ending point, to argue your way back to the beginning of the theory. You see, there's that circular reasoning in play. In pseudoscience circles, it is believed that this junk or non-coding DNA found in humans is actually the handiwork of ancient aliens that fused or introduced their superior alien DNA into early hominids. Now, in an article found on ancientorigins.net, the narrative is simply this, that a group of mythic beings known as the Anunnaki, whom are claimed to have crossed their own DNA with that of Homo erectus in order to create mankind for the purpose of humans being used as slaves to mine much-needed gold and other minerals from the earth for them to take back to their home. Now, today, these Anunnaki are often portrayed as the equivalent of the Old Testament creator, God. Now, the Anunnaki are also said to be the Sumerian deities of the old primordial time, a pantheon of gods who were the children of the sky god, Anu, and his sister, Kai. So you see, the thing is, the deeper you dig into this theory, you find that there are a good many arguments for and against it. But what is it that actually gives it the legs to run on? It's the fact that there are ancient texts out there that seem to fully support this theory and are found in a very unlikely place. You guessed it, the Holy Bible. Now, I know you're shaking your head in disbelief now, so let's take a brief look at some of the examples that are written in the Bible to bring this into a bit more focus, starting with the book of Genesis. That's right, the very first book of the Bible. So in the 6th chapter, specifically verses 1, 2, and 4, are the texts that many believe specifically speak of the sky god's children and not that of a supreme creator, God. Now here's the text. When man began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. And the women bore children of the sons of God, who were men of renown and referred to as heroes. Now, most logical people would interpret this text as nothing more than describing the descendants of Adam and Eve, and rightly so. However, some see this as proof that the writer is actually referring to the sons of God as the alien race that created all that we know. So further reading into the Bible, it actually reveals even more texts that continue to validate this theory, that we are an alien hominid hybrid, and are actually visited by those that created us on a regular basis. Now, in the book of Ezekiel, this is reported as being, one of the first recorded texts of an alien spacecraft, if you will. It says in verse 4, it says, "As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with brightness around it, and fire flashing forth continually, and in the midst of the fire, as it were gleaming metal, and from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had a human likeness. But each had 4 faces, and each of them had 4 wings, and their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like burnished bronze. And under their wings on their 4 sides they had human hands. And the 4 had their faces and their wings thus. Their wings touched one another, and each one of them went straight forward without turning as they went. As for the likeness of their faces, each had a human face. The 4 had the face of a lion on the right side, and the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, and the 4 had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces, and their wings were spread out above. Each creature had 2 wings, each of which touched the wing of another, while 2 covered their bodies." So that's a description of what many people believe as an actual alien visiting Ezekiel. Now, if you move on to verse 15 and 16, it is said to be a description of the flying saucer that they rode in on. It says this, "Now, as I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the earth beside the living creatures, one for each of the 4 of them. And as for the appearance of the wheels and their construction, their appearance was like the gleaming of beryl. And the 4 had the same likeness, their appearance and construction being, as it were, a wheel within a wheel." So you see, there are some that believe that the Bible actually speaks to ancient aliens actually breeding with early hominids or early humans to create the human race as we know it and to have us evolve to the point as we know it now. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I think there's arguments for and against it, just like the circular reasoning as we talked about at the beginning of this podcast. But truth is what you make it. Truth is what you believe truth to be, and truth is what you have to find out for yourself. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Bearded Guy Podcast as we start this, again, multi-episode series about conspiracy theories. Now, do you believe this one or do you not believe this one? It's totally for you to decide. But again, I hope we're giving you just something to spur your curiosity and give you that little push that would make you want to research this and other conspiracy theories further. And I hope you join us for future and follow-up episodes about this. And I hope to see you next week. I hope you come by and give us a listen. Give us a view here on YouTube and give us a listen on Anchor.fm. But thank you again. Thank you so much for you, the listening audience. I do appreciate you. It's because of you, why I take the time to do these episodes. So again, thank you so much. I hope to see you again next week. Hope you have a great day and a wonderful week ahead of you. And until next time.